Hello, I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to the In Conversation With series, a series where I speak to notable figures in the realm of financial services. Listen as they share their personal journeys, thoughts on the industry, and advice for aspiring advisors. In today's episode, I'm joined by Ben Dyson. So Ben, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. I am a senior wealth strategist here at Foresight, and I've been with the company now for just over 8 years. And how me and Kimberley have come together is I've been lucky enough to be shortlisted for Financial Advisor of the Year.
Yeah,
which is very exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So let's kind of start from the beginning and find out more about how you kind of got into financial services. So what was your introduction?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, but this is the full story, just so you've got it, I used to be a professional football player.
I saw that on your profile.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So the legal age they can sign you is 9 years old.
Okay.
So when I was 8, I played in a final and we won 7-1 and I'd scored 6 of them.
Wow.
And at the time, the local or the closest football club at the time was Bolton Wanderers.
Okay.
So even further for you, Kimberley, up north. And yes, I went there. A lot of my friends went there, so it was really exciting to sign for them. And then over time, a couple of things changed. And the first one was for us. It was probably an hour and a half 3 times a week to Bolton and back for training. So we moved club just to be a little bit closer to home.
Yeah.
And I went to quite a prestigious preparatory school and grammar school, so homework was expected to probably be 3 hours a night. So half of it was getting done in the car there and back. So it was a bit of a challenge. And I played for various clubs: United, Manchester City. And what happened is I had a terrible accident. Someone stood on my foot and it broke clean in half, which is not very pleasant at all.
Was this while you were playing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just at the start of the season, someone stood straight on my foot and it just snapped completely in half. So little bit of an issue there, but though the worst bit about it is I then developed something called tendinitis, which is a swelling, think of it like arthritic pain, from my right foot all the way up to the top of my hip, which was, and that took a year just to get the mobility moving back. And it just wasn't the same. So I had a contract with the football club at the time, and luckily for me, I really enjoyed education. There is not much education in football, but for me, I carried on with my studies just as normal because that was what all my friends were doing, and lucky for me, I had all the results at the end of it, and I could make a choice if I carried on doing football or I could go and do something else at university. And for me, one of my biggest fears, as ridiculous as it sounds now, decades on from this event, but I didn't want to be this old person having to go back to university. I didn't want to be 25 and having to go back to university. So for me, it kind of all fitted in perfectly. And I thought, well, you know what? Everyone now is moving on to university. I want to be with the same age cohort. And that's exactly what I did. And luckily enough, I went to a fantastic university in Manchester, and I got 97% on the course. I'm pretty nerdy. I'm not used to university life whatsoever. I didn't expect only 8 hours a week is what the course covered. And it was really interesting. I found it interesting because I was doing it a little bit myself. My grandfather and father retired when they were very young, and it is a tricky challenge to know what to do with oneself when you retire that young. And for me, we're talking about financial elements. We're talking about the markets, how it works. And I thought, this is so interesting. There can be something different every day. It truly is. And I thought, what an interesting career finance would be, because you just don't know what could happen tomorrow. You're waking up with a little bit of excitement. So I thought, well, finance would be interesting. So I specialised in corporate finance and financial planning. And to be honest, it was the corporate finance which I found the most interesting, the buying of portions of companies and being embedded in the story with them. So I did a little bit of time down in London, probably as most people do. Maybe most people listening to this podcast are based down in London. But to be honest, it was quite a lonely place. For somewhere so busy, I thought there'd be a real camaraderie, and there really was in the office. It was like being back in a sports team. Everyone's with each other. Everyone knows what they're trying to do to help the firm get to the point it needs to be. But outside of it, when you're going to the gym or you're just walking down the street, it's a very, very lonely place.
Yeah.
So one of our family's financial advisors, they lived in Jersey, the little island at the bottom of the UK. I went over there. My father came with me just to have a look around. It was absolutely fantastic. Just the same as London. A slightly better salary, if anything, because they want to attract people to the island. The tax was 8% flat. So anyone looking to do financial planning, that would be a great place to go and live. and it really was lovely. You're working, you can hear the sea in the background, and there was a real camaraderie because you would see that person again on the island. You know, if me and you were doing a podcast here, it's highly likely I'd bump into you on the street. Yeah. So people were very friendly. It was really lovely. And then the only reason I came back or had a moment to think is my uncle, who was quite young at the time, in his late 40s. He just collapsed dead on the couch, and for me it was a complete shock. Yeah. And for us as a family, we're very, very close family. It's just very strange to deal with that situation. You just don't think that's ever going to happen to you. It happens to other people. You think it's not going to happen to you. And I came back. You've got those 2 weeks where you just can't think of anything. You're just so upset. And someone said, "Do you know what? Why don't you go take your mind off it and go and make a speech?" And there's a nice hotel based in Chester, around the corner. You'll know it, near Liverpool, called the Grosvenor Hotel. I went there, had a bit of a chat, met a couple of people, and someone said, "Do you know what? I know someone you could go and help if you're interested in going." And this was on the Wednesday. I was thinking, well, a bit upset at the moment, but I'll go take my mind off it. I went on Friday. I met with Simon, who owns this business, who set it up 25 years ago. And 8 years ago, everything that Simon promised he would help me with, he has helped me, and I'm sure I've held up my side of the agreement as well. And it's been a fantastic 8 years. And the best bit about this is I've made so many personal relationships with people, and I really, really did enjoy what I did in Jersey. I loved, and I still love it to this day, following the companies around, and I do it personally. But it is lovely to meet so many different people from different points of, in different points of life, and for me, I can take the best bit of everyone's life, what's worked for them, and put it into my own life as well. While I'm also trying to help them financial planning wise, but it's a fantastic benefit. It really is. It's like having having a bigger family in essence. I'm very lucky.
No, I really like that story. It's like a story of like resilience and being able to, change but not wallow in any certain, in certain tragedies. Some people would probably wallow for a long time, but you've been someone who's kind of like moved forward, and that's really admirable. But in terms of like, obviously you've talked about like developing relationships and that camaraderie and how that's important to you. Is there a certain point though where sometimes, when you're developing relationships with the clients that you're talking to, that you sometimes think like, oh, do you ever set boundaries, or are you like, no, we are?
I'm definitely not that type of person. Certain people I've spoken to, they're not too keen on it. But, financial planning is a little bit of a sport. It is a little bit of a game. There is an element there, and you're trying to be the best financial advisor you possibly can. And I always see that the best financial advisor knows what it is they've got to do. But at the same time, they know what their client needs to do as well. And what I mean by that is everyone's retirement is completely different. Hopefully my father doesn't listen to this podcast, but when my grandfather retired, he's very good at retirement. He's been able to take a step back and relax and do the things that he wants to do. Whereas my dad, who's probably very similar to me, retirement for him has been absolutely terrible. Because he's not got the buzz. The stresses, I can imagine were probably quite a lot for him running his own business at quite a size. But it's a different type of buzz. And when you wake up in the morning, you've got these stresses you need to go and complete. Yeah. When you're retired, you don't have that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And for me, when I speak to people, that's what I try and tell them is, I'm here to do maybe half of it, but I need your help as well. I need you to tell me what is your number, what you want to get out of it. And I see it here where people go, I'll tell them, look, you've done everything that we've said in the plan for 5 years. You told me you needed 50,000 a year. I can confidently tell you now, you can get £50,000 a year from your investments. You'll never have to work a day in your life. To financial crisis, you've still got the 50,000 in the bank. And they leave. And they're gone. I never see them again. If anything, I'm chasing them to say, come in just for one review a year.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, I tell them, look, you can do the things that you want to do, that you've told me. And they go, well, no, now I feel empowered. I want to carry on working. I want to spend more time with you. And it's interesting. It's the same conclusion for everyone, but it's a different outcome.
Yeah.
Financial freedom is what people come here for. And people take it in a different way. So for me, I want people to be open with me, and the best financial planning, or anyone who does financial planning knows really that the more information you've got at your disposal, the better advice you can give.
Yeah. No, I think I really like that holistic approach in finding that you need to tailor it to each person. No one person is going to be exactly the same. Some people are happy just to sit back and be like, you handle it. And I'll just chill.
My wife probably will not be happy with that answer if she listened to it. But people are trying to call me and get hold of me on Christmas Day to ask me a question. They're worried about it. But for me, it's not a problem. It's just part and parcel of the job.
So for you, that that always being attainable for your clients is something that you think is just a given.
Yes. Yes, when people come on board, I always say to them, I am here for anything, the good, the bad. I mean, crikey, some people at the moment have been calling me up saying, "What's the best energy deal?" I'm watching the tariff go round every time I have a shower or I put that. And that's what we're here for. We're here to take the financial piece out of your mind, and for someone else to do the heavy lifting. And at the moment, I think when you speak to the likes of the banks, it is hard. It's hard just to get through to someone, to speak to someone personal.
Yeah.
I've got an issue with my account. I can't log in. Who do you call? I mean, crikey, if I could not log into my bank, I'd be having a panic attack. But I know how difficult it can be just to get through to a human being to try and help you.
Yeah, that is one of the topics that we get a lot on our website, the poor customer service with certain organizations. And I can understand how that would be very frustrating, especially when it's tied up with your money. One of the biggest stresses of life, and you can't get through to anyone. That would drive you insane.
Because that's what people really like, is when they call here. And again, you're only seeing me as the financial advisor, but behind me there's a team of people. And if you called up the office, Kimberley, because I'm obviously in a meeting with you right now to do this podcast. When you phone the office and you said, it's Kimberley here, there will be someone in this office who will know your case inside out, and they'll be able to answer the phone with the words, "Hi, Kimberley, how's everything going? It's me. I'm here to help you." Just as it would be the same here. Whereas we call up financial institutions to get information off them for research, and it client number 572, then you're off to a different department. We're on hold for 30 minutes just to try and find someone. We're a financial services company trying to speak to another financial services company. So as a customer and seeing it from financial to financial, it's really, really difficult. I'd be nervous.
Yeah. And especially like right now, like you're saying, with people being concerned about, cost of living crisis and energy crisis and stuff like that, the worst thing is also not being able to get through to those providers as well.
Absolutely.
So like you mentioned, some people are calling, asking you about like the best energy deals. Is there what other concerns have your clients been coming to you with right now?
Definitely at the moment, savings accounts.
Okay.
I think for the vast majority of people, and we do get ourselves accustomed to it, we're used to interest rates being on the floor. And now, unfortunately, inflation is one of the reasons those interest rates are going up. But though the saver is starting to get a little bit of money on the money they've got on deposit, and it's moving at a fast rate. It really is. So, fixed rates compared to easy access. I mean, for us at the moment, we're still, keep your money in easy access. There's some great rates out there, and hopefully they will go up. Then the only issue is at the moment we just need some inflation to start pulling down. So interest rates are a blunt tool to deal with inflation, but again, things are moving which they haven't for probably a decade or two.
Yeah. Well, that's a one positive, I guess.
Yeah, little positives.
And for the clients that are panicking, how do you kind of like soothe them or like talk them through it to make them less panicked?
It's a tough one. I mean, for people who have been with me for a long period of time, this is not an unusual situation. If anything, we're speaking about this. I've often caveated most meetings with I will be the Debbie Downer by saying, the one thing I can probably guarantee, it will go down. Your investments will go down. We've got to get ourselves comfortable with this feeling that our hard-earned savings can go down, but we've got to be long-term in nature. And even I say that to people, even when they've retired. Statistically, I've seen that when people retire, let's say in their 60s, they've still got the potential for another 25 years in retirement, 30 years in retirement. So we can't turn everything off and just automatically sit ourselves in cash. We've got to go and invest it. We've got to feel like if we're 60 years old on our retirement date, that, well, don't forget, we need to save for the version of us in our 70s, in our 80s. That's 2 decades. So we can't just afford to sit there and leave it in cash. We've got to go and invest it and get used to the ups and downs with different tranches of our money. But obviously, it's more exciting when you're younger because it's all about accumulation.
Yeah.
But even when you retire, there's still got to be part of it where you're looking, I need to grow this money. I need to accumulate capital for future me. And I think that's a common thing that people make a mistake on, is they grow their money, they come to retirement, and then they turn the growth engine off.
Yeah.
And for us, that's what we're trying to look for, especially for the younger people who join us. And I tell them, this is what we're looking for in the financial planning, is we need to think worst case scenario. Do the things that most people are either afraid to ask or they're bored to ask as a financial advisor. It's not exciting to talk about wills, lasting powers of attorney, an emergency pot. Because if I was probably, let's say I was 14 or 15, I was sat in front of you, the main focus in my mind is, as a client, how much money I'm going to have in retirement. That's the more fun bit to think about. You don't want to think about the plan going wrong. And for us, we want to focus on the plan going wrong.
Yeah.
And that gives our clients a little bit of peace of mind. One of my proudest moments, I would suggest from my time doing this, is during the COVID period. I was the only one who came in this office just to show people that, don't worry, everything's absolutely fine. It's a strange time and you need to speak to me on Zoom. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg would be happy. The metaverse is coming true. We can't leave our home. But no one panicked during COVID.
Yeah.
When the markets went down 30%, no one panicked. No one drew their money out. No one sold anything. Now, did I know a month later the markets would be exactly where they were a month ago? Absolutely not. But though, to me, that was a testament that it stress tested my clients, if that made sense.
Yeah.
And no one blinked an eye.
That's good.
moving forward, there's going to be testing times 100%. And we've got a little bit of it now, but we've got to be prepared for it. And if anything, I want people, especially newer people who join, is to use this as a time to say, right, this is why we save. This is why we have an emergency pot. Whereas I think it's been a little bit tricky for people recently as the market, it's only gone one way.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I want to make sure that we're steadfast in what we've got. And when things come out of the blue, even the exciting things, the cryptocurrencies of this world, the meme stocks, all these exciting things, it's okay to have a dabble, but that's all we're having. We're just having a dabble. For me, the core portfolio carries on in the way, and I'm not going to be drawn into that. And you need not to be drawn into it either.
Yeah, I like that. You mentioned the cryptocurrencies and meme stocks and stuff. I wonder, I don't know if you do have any clients that are like millennials, or I don't even know if Gen Z is, approaching financial advisors yet. But do you think their style of thinking, do they plan for the future? Because there's probably a stereotype that they're not really thinking that far ahead. They want everything now, so it's like quick and easy. That's why stuff like meme stocks and cryptocurrency are so popular, because everyone wants to just get those instant gratification.
Absolutely. But throughout history, I do like my history, there's always been those events. Don't forget, we've had the .com. Anything with the word .com soared. And if we go right back to history, everyone went mad for tulips. We have tulip mania. So it's unfair to say, well, here's this generation coming and look at cryptocurrency and meme stocks as an example. History is littered, and the future will be littered with events where people want to make fast money. It will always come about, and there'll be a handful of winners, and there'll be
way a lot more losers.
Unfortunately, a lot more losers. But I think that it's a tough one. I mean, for the younger generation, it is very tough. We've got some people in the office here who are their one focus in life at the moment is trying to get on the housing ladder. Yeah, and that housing ladder looks like an escalator. Which has been set in the fastest pace. It is. It's you are jumping onto something, and the properties that you are getting, I'm not looking at them going, oh wow, that's really worth the money. But you need a home. You've got to jump onto it. So at the moment, future me, pension wise, or I need a roof over my head. I can see why people are going with that. And again, financial services can be looked at in regards to not helping with things like buy now, pay later. Klarna of this world's popping up. I mean, I find it incredible that people are using Klarna on ASOS or some of the clothing websites for a £10 dress to split over 3 months.
It's expanding into lots of different areas.
Absolutely. So there are traps out there for people, but no, absolutely. I think this younger generation, that they do have a bit of a mountain to climb just to get going, and that's in the shape of finding a home. But though, moving forward, whether they know it or not, we're really going to have to become a generation of savers, because this final salary or these gold-plated pensions, as they were seen, they're disappearing now. Yeah. So what is in the future? It's down to us to save that. We're responsible now. Whereas my wife, she is a teacher. I mean, even her final salary pension has become a little bit more tricky because it used to be a retirement age of 60. Now it's 67. I could not think of any teacher running around a classroom age 67 chasing 30 children. Yeah, it is very tough. It's tough even for those people in the public sector from a final salary. But though, they've got in the habit of saving, and the government have tried auto enrolment. But again, we need to become a bit of a generation of savers. We really do. And hopefully the housing bubble eases. But we've seen it during COVID that people were forced savers, should we say. But I've spoken to people and they're going, well, I've missed out on 2 years of holidays. I need to catch up.
Yeah, that's what's happening now.
Yeah, and that's the bit. That's the bit that scares me. I would suggest for the future.
Yeah,
Is there is a little bit of this. Great, I've got £100. Right now, it's burning a hole in my pocket. I've got to spend it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I would suggest. Maybe this generation's got a little bit guilty of. Is letting it burn a hole in our pocket.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe they're just nihilists and they're like, it could all end tomorrow, so I might as well.
Maybe, 100%, maybe.
Well, I really enjoyed all of your takes. I will probably also, because I know that I am guilty of not saving as much as I could, so I'm definitely going to take that on board. So thank you for that. But also, I would like, as a final question, what advice would you give to someone who's entering into financial services? Obviously, you had your own path that led you here, but if someone else is kind of pivoting, this is their second career, or they're not quite sure what to do after uni, after college, what would you advise them?
Yeah, I mean, we just had a young gentleman join us for 1 week's worth of work experience. And I think the first thing is with financial services, it's very, very broad.
Yeah.
There are so many things to do, and that's what's exciting about it, is you can do insurance, financial advice, wealth management. And the good news is once you are in financial services, it is very, very easy to pivot. And I would say that is the most exciting bit about it. I've gone to do corporate finance, which if you said I couldn't do financial advice tomorrow, I'd go straight back to.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely loved it. But it was so easy to pick up my financial corporate hat and move it straight over to financial advice. And the best bit about it, all of the information is still valid.
Yeah.
It helps me now in the financial advice world, just as it helps me when I go and speak to people about the corporate finance. And it's the same for people in mortgages, life insurance. The knowledge that you are gaining every year, doesn't matter what department in financial services, is all valid. We have people join here and the first thing they say is, my last job, I just worked in a call center. I don't know if I can really hit the ground running. Well, actually, that's really, really advantageous. You just don't know it, because when you're me and you're having to call up the financial services, and as you rightly said at the start, it can be difficult. Because you've seen it on the other side, you know the questions to ask, you know how to gather that information. Yeah. And that is what is fantastic about financial services, is it's one of those where the skills, they translate into everyday life as well. As much as people might not want to believe it, is finance, it is very important. Yeah. It truly is. And we don't teach it at schools. We don't do mortgages. We don't teach people about mortgages, credit cards, savings accounts, such as that. It's a great field to be in, because you can take a lot of the information you learn on a daily basis and apply it to your own life. And I've been in meetings and people have said something to me. I thought, wow, that is really interesting. Let me go away and take that little nugget, and I'll tell it to the rest of the people that I've got. Yeah. Just because I'm the financial advisor does not mean I know everything. I absolutely don't. And that's what's really good about it, is I get the benefit of, Kimberley doing her financial planning. It's just down to Kimberley. Whereas for me, I get Kimberley at accumulation, retirement, all the way through, and I get to see which bits worked for which different Kimberley. And then I can help apply that to each one of the clients, depending on what life stage they're at. And don't forget, for my own personal benefit, I can apply exactly the same. Yeah. And it's a real big win. And for people wanting to get into financial services, that is exactly what I would say, is you want to go and look at some of the exams. I mean, I have done a lot of exams and will continue to do it, but to be a fellow, I'm a fellow for the CII, but also with the CISI, the IMC. Great qualifications to do, really interesting ones that broaden your knowledge personally. Yeah. And if you're inside the industry, there are so many avenues to do. There really is. Crikey, I saw someone the other day and their niche was space insurance. Space? Space insurance, absolutely. And again, something we never would have thought about, but now people want to fly Virgin Galactic. They might need some insurance. Yeah, they might need some insurance if they go around. So something that probably didn't exist 5 years ago could be a new industry we're all looking at.
That is so interesting.
So we joke here saying, there's new industries that are popping up all around, and that is what is exciting about finance. So I've just got a new client, 3 new clients recently, and they sold, and I still don't know how it makes any money, but they sold their cryptocurrency, the NFTs, these non-fungible token, the artwork. Yeah, and they've sold their business to eBay, so eBay can create their own galleries that you can bid on. Now, and they've just sold it for £50 million. But that was something that didn't exist 10 years ago. No, I have absolutely no idea how it works. I've tried to look at it. I still don't get it.
I wrote something about NFTs a while ago, and it was confusing to me because it was all. It's just it kind of just made me realize that everything that we value, we put value to, because before the pandemic, NFTs were kind of very underground and niche, and then they blew up once everyone was at home and people were buying them, and these bigger influencers were like, I'm putting out this NFT. And realistically, this picture of a bored monkey or whatever is not worth anything, but it's worth something because someone is willing to spend an X amount of money, and then someone else is willing to buy it off them. And it blew my mind. But
that's what's amazing about financial services is I think it has all of this flexibility. And some of the people that you will meet are fantastic people, very, very knowledgeable, and also very nice people as well. Yeah. And that's what I would suggest, which I would really push for people. It's a nice place to be. There's always going to be some stories, and financial services deserves some of its bad rep, 100%. But underlying that, there are lovely people, and you will meet some people that the relationships will be a long term. And I am very lucky to do financial advice where every day I've got a chance at meeting someone new and forging a relationship from that. And it's amazing to think that I've been with this company now for 8 years, and it really honestly feels like it was yesterday. And I'm very lucky because I'm trying to learn from my dad's mistakes. This is a job that I can do till I'm 90.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that is real motivation.
So if people are looking for inspiration, but it's truly up to them what they want to do. Yeah. And that's what's really exciting. I meet fund managers, and their degree was zoology. Yeah. But they are smart enough to take some of that interesting things that they learn in their degree and bring it into financial services, and that is what is amazing about this industry.
Yeah. That's what I find fascinating as well. But thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today, Ben. Your story is so interesting, and I really enjoyed everything you had to share today.
So much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay then, and see you next time.
Perfect.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine, so make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.